Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're really digging into Dan Koe's idea of, all about routines and one-person businesses, and really just this whole new way people are thinking about work these days.
Yeah,
So,
we've got a whole stack of his articles right here, ready to go.
absolutely.
I
And
think people are going to find this one super interesting.
yeah, I think they really will. There's some seriously thought-provoking stuff in there, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying, you can actually build a life where you get to do work that you're truly passionate about.
hmm
And what you're really good at, even if you're like, wait, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. It's like he's providing a roadmap kind of
Yeah,
for like taking those passions and actually turning them into something real.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, for everyone listening, here's the question I want you to think about as we dive in.
Okay.
What if, like, building a career around your own expertise, what if that's actually more attainable than trying to climb that traditional corporate ladder?
That's a good question. It's
Right.
like flipping the script on how we view success in careers.
Exactly.
And Coe, he really dives into all of that.
Yeah, he does. And one of the first things he talks about, and I think this is such a good starting point, is the power of routine.
Mm.
But his take on it, particularly that morning routine, it's anything but ordinary.
Yeah.
It's not what you'd expect.
No, it's not about like waking up at 5 a.m. and doing a bunch of stuff you hate.
Is it?
No, not at all. It's more about being really intentional with your energy, especially first thing in the morning when you're like at your peak, right?
Yeah.
So he advocates for this 60-minute morning routine. And the idea is that you're directing that energy towards activities that are actually like building towards your ideal future, you
Oh,
know?
I love that.
Not just like checking things off a to-do list,
Yeah.
but like actually moving you closer to where you want to be.
Totally.
And what's interesting is how he breaks it down into
Right.
these three key areas: mind, body, and money. Like he covers all the bases.
Okay. So hold on. Let's break those down a bit because he has a very specific take on each of those. Right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like with the mind, he's all about starting the day with some kind of mindfulness practice.
Yeah.
Whether that's meditation or journaling, just something to like connect with yourself, get grounded before the day takes over.
Yeah.
And then for the body, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's about prioritizing your physical health.
Right.
Yeah.
Get that exercise in, fuel your body with the right food.
Exactly. Those things, like, they lay the foundation for everything else.
Totally. Now, let's get to that third one, money.
Hmm.
What does he say about that in the morning routine? Because I have a feeling it's not what people might expect.
Yeah, you're right. This is where things get really interesting. Because he's not talking about like budgeting or checking your bank account
Right.
or even like side hustling in the morning. He's talking about something much bigger.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So he actually says that most people should be using that hour to actively build a business.
Really? Like a full-on business, first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
That's a pretty bold statement.
it is, right. But the more you think about it, the more it makes sense.
Okay, walk me through his logic here.
Well, he sees entrepreneurship as a skill, like any other skill.
Mhm.
It's something you can learn and develop over time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he believes that the sooner you start, the better. Because the skills you develop along the way, like, they're invaluable no matter what you end up doing.
Totally. Even if you don't end up building some massive company,
Hmm.
just the fact that you, like, took that leap and tried something new,
Yeah.
learn how to market yourself, manage your time, all of that, those are transferable skills, right?
Exactly. Those skills are gold in today's world.
Absolutely. And he even goes as far as to say that becoming an entrepreneur is, like, the best way to future-proof your career.
Mm-hmm.
With AI and automation changing everything so rapidly,
Yeah. Traditional jobs are like being disrupted left and right.
right?
But the skills you develop as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
those are the skills that are going to be in demand no matter what.
So true. So it's less about, like, fitting into some pre-existing job mold and more about, like, creating your own path.
Yeah,
You get-
exactly. It's about taking control and building something that works for you.
And he drops this, like, really bold statement in one of the articles. He says that committing to just 2 hours each morning,
Mm-hmm.
one for this routine we've been talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and one for a focused work session, that can be an absolute game changer.
It's like a small time investment with potentially huge returns.
Right. Like flipping a switch that sets you on a completely different trajectory.
Totally. It's about making that consistent effort.
So if you had to picture that for yourself, right?
Right.
Those 2 hours in the morning, what would they look like for you? Like, what would you be doing? What would that routine actually consist of?
That's a good question to think about because it really makes you examine, like, what are your priorities, right?
Hmm.
What do you want to be investing your energy in?
Totally. And this whole idea of entrepreneurship, I mean, that leads perfectly into Koe's ideas about really rethinking what it even means to be an entrepreneur these days.
Yeah, he's got some pretty radical ideas there.
He does.
He really challenges the status quo.
Yeah, he's not afraid to shake things up. And one of the things he says, I think it was in his article about the one-person business.
Oh, yeah, that one was really
It
eye-opening.
was. He flat out says that the one-person business model, like, that's the ideal for most people, especially right now with AI changing the landscape so much.
I mean, it's definitely a bold statement.
It is, right.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, wait a minute. What does that even mean?
Yeah, but he actually lays out some pretty compelling arguments to back it up.
Okay. Break those down for me. Why does he think that?
Well, he's got a few key reasons. First, there's the flexibility factor, right? Which is something so many people are craving these days.
Yeah, like work-life balance, setting your own hours.
Exactly. And then he talks about the potential for high profit margins, especially with digital products.
Right, because you're not dealing with the same overhead costs as traditional businesses.
Exactly. You get to keep more of the value you create.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And what's the third reason?
He emphasizes the level of control you have with a one-person business. You're calling the shots. You're not answering to someone else.
You're the boss.
You are the boss. It's all on you. But that also means you have the freedom to shape it exactly how you want.
It really is about designing the life you want.
Yeah.
Or, like, on your own terms.
Exactly. It's less about trading your time for a paycheck.
Yeah.
And more about building something that actually works for you and reflects your values.
And one of the things that Koe does so well is he brings in these real-world examples that just, like, bring these concepts to life. You know?
Oh, yeah. He's great at that. His examples are always so on point.
They are. And the one that really stuck with me was the story about the bet that Sam Altman...
Wait, the CEO of OpenAI?
Yeah?
The guy behind ChatGPT?
Yes. He's got this bet going with his friends.
What? Tell me about this. I haven't heard this one.
Okay, so they're actually betting on who's going to create the first billion-dollar one-person business,
Wow, that's wild.
right? Like, the fact that this is even a conversation among people like Sam Altman,
Mm-hmm.
it shows you the potential that he sees in this model.
It's like they're putting their money where their mouth is, literally.
Right. It really makes you question, like, is the traditional path,
Like going to college, getting a job.
yeah, getting a real job, like, is that actually the riskier move in the long run? Especially now with AI changing everything so quickly.
It definitely challenges conventional thinking.
It does.
And I think that's one of the things that makes Koe's work so fascinating. He's not afraid to push those boundaries.
Yeah, he's always pushing us to think differently.
And that's how real innovation happens, right?
Exactly. You got to be willing to challenge those assumptions. Now, this next idea that Koe brings up, I think it's one of the most fascinating things we're going to talk about today. And that's this whole concept of the creator economy as, like, a new kind of school system.
Mm-hmm.
A decentralized school, he calls it.
I love that idea. It's like we're moving away from relying on those traditional institutions for knowledge and skills.
Yeah.
And instead, we're turning to individuals who are out there building their own audiences online, sharing their expertise. And it's like those creators are becoming the teacher.
Yeah, they're the new professors.
Right. And their content, whether it's courses or videos or whatever, that's the curriculum.
It's such a shift, right?
It is. It's a complete paradigm shift in how we think about education.
Yeah, and it makes it so much more personalized, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can choose who you want to learn from
Yeah,
based on what you're interested in.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're curating your own education.
Yeah.
Which is so much more engaging and effective, I think, than just passively absorbing whatever's thrown at you.
Totally. And he uses Ali Abdaal as an example.
Oh, yeah, the former doctor turned YouTuber.
Yeah. He's making a great living just sharing his knowledge about productivity and, like, online business.
And it's not just him.
Yeah.
There are countless examples of people who are doing this successfully.
Right. So this is not just some futuristic theory.
Yep.
It's happening right now.
It's the reality of the world we live in.
So it really makes you think about, like, what unique knowledge or skills do you have, right? That other people might find valuable. What could you teach? What could you share with the world?
Yeah, because everyone has something to offer.
Exactly. We all have something.
And in this creator economy, there's actually a way to, like, package that up and share it with the world and potentially even make a living from it.
Right. And Koe doesn't just leave us hanging with this idea. He actually provides a framework for figuring all of that out.
Oh, right. He lays out those 4 key pillars of a successful one-person business.
Yes, the 4 pillars: branding, content, offer, and marketing.
It's like a roadmap for anyone who wants to build something for themselves.
It is. So let's break those down a bit.
Yeah.
First, we've got branding. That's all about like crafting an identity for your business, right?
Yeah, it's like the personality of your business, you know?
Right.
It defines who you are, what you stand for, and how you want people to perceive you.
Totally. It's how you stand out from the crowd.
And then you've got content, which is all about, like, showcasing your expertise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And connecting with your audience. It's how you provide value and build relationships.
Yeah, and that content can take so many different forms these days, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just blog posts anymore. It's videos, podcasts.
Social media.
Yeah, social media, webinars, email newsletters. Like, the possibilities are endless.
So many options. But the key is to be consistent, right?
Yeah.
Like Koe really emphasizes that.
Oh, yeah. Consistency is key. It's about showing up regularly and delivering high-quality content that your audience actually cares about.
And then, of course, we've got the offer. That's the actual product or service you're selling.
Right. It's what you're bringing to the table. And Koe's advice here is to start with what he calls a minimum viable offer.
Oh, yes, the minimum viable offer, or MVO.
Yeah, the MVO. Basically, it's like the simplest version of your product.
Right, like don't get bogged down trying to create this perfect thing right out of the gate.
Exactly. Just get something out there, test it, get feedback, and then iterate from there.
And then finally, we've got marketing. And that's how you actually get your offer in front of the right people.
Yeah, marketing is all about visibility and reach.
Right.
It's about making sure your ideal customers actually know you exist.
It can be so overwhelming trying to figure out where to start with all of this, right?
It can. There are so many different marketing channels and strategies these days.
It's like, how do you know what's going to work for you?
Right. And I think that's where Koe's emphasis on experimentation comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay to try different things and see what sticks.
Totally. But how can someone who's just beginning to explore these ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can they start thinking about their brand or that minimum viable offer?
Well, Koe's advice is to focus on small, consistent steps.
Right.
Like, don't try to do everything at once.
Yeah, that's good advice. Don't get overwhelmed.
Instead, pick one thing and just focus on making progress on that.
Okay, I like that. So what's one thing that people could do today to start building one of these pillars? Just like one small action step.
Let me think. For branding, it could be as simple as brainstorming some ideas, right?
Okay.
Like, what are some words that describe you and your work? What kind of feeling do you want to evoke with your brand?
Yeah, and I think for the offer, maybe it's just like outlining a potential product or service.
Right. Just get those ideas down on paper.
Yeah, brain dump, get it out of your head.
Yeah. The point is to start taking action, even if it's just a small step.
You know, Koe talks a lot about the power of what he calls micro products.
Oh, yeah, that's one of his favorite strategies.
It is. It's so smart.
So what are micro products again?
Yeah.
Just to remind everyone.
Okay, so micro products are these small, low-cost, easily created digital products that can really help you get your business off the ground.
Okay, and why are they so effective?
Well, for a few reasons. First, they're relatively quick and easy to create. So you're not spending months or years developing some huge, complex thing.
Right.
Second, they're typically priced very affordably. So it's a low barrier to entry for your customers.
Makes sense.
And third, they're a great way to test your ideas and see what resonates with your audience.
So it's like a low-risk way to get started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite stories that Koe tells is about John Hu.
Oh, yeah, the CEO of Stan.
Yes, he made $1,000 just by selling his old resume as a micro product.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So he just packaged up his resume, like, with some tips and advice?
Yeah, basically.
And people actually paid for it.
They did.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that, like, you don't need some fancy product or a big launch to get started.
It's about being resourceful and creative.
Exactly. And this is what I love about Koe's philosophy. It's all about taking action, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for the perfect idea or the perfect moment.
Just start with something and iterate from there.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest takeaways here is that most people fail not because they lack talent or good ideas,
Right.
but because they don't promote themselves enough.
It's like they have this amazing product or service, but they're too afraid to tell anyone about it.
Yeah, they let fear and perfectionism hold them back.
And Koe is all about overcoming those fears, right?
Yeah.
He's constantly encouraging people to put themselves out there, even if it feels uncomfortable.
So let me throw this question out to everyone listening. What could your micro products be
Yeah, what knowledge or skill do you have?
that you could package up and share with the world?
Right now, even,
Yeah, like right now.
like what's something you could create and sell within the next week, even?
It's a great question to think about.
It is. It really forces you to get specific.
And to realize that you probably have more to offer than you think.
Yeah, we all do.
It's just a matter of taking that first step. And it's not just about the money, right? Like there's something deeper going on here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Koe talks about how this whole process of building a one-person business,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually a catalyst for personal growth.
Yeah, it's like you're forced to step outside your comfort zone.
Right.
And learn new things and really like stretch yourself in ways you never thought possible.
And you learn so much about yourself along the way.
Yeah, you definitely do. It's like a crash course in self-discovery.
It is.
You learn what you're good at, what you're not so good at.
Your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that's often missing from traditional education,
Yeah.
Like you don't really get that real world experience of like putting yourself out there and seeing what happens.
Right. Failing and getting back up.
Yeah, failing is a huge part of it.
It is.
But it's like the more you fail, the more you learn and the more resilient you become.
And Koe's own story is a great example of that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He didn't just pop out of the womb as this like business guru.
Yeah.
He had his own journey, his own evolution.
He did. I mean, he started out as a brand advisor.
Yeah.
Then he was teaching writing. And then he moved into this whole entrepreneurship space.
Yeah. It's like he's constantly learning and growing
Mm-hmm.
and adapting to the changing landscape.
And that's a really important point, right? Like this whole world of work,
Yeah.
it's constantly evolving.
Oh, yeah. It's moving so fast.
So it's not about like finding this one fixed niche and staying there forever.
Nope.
It's more about being adaptable,
Mm-hmm.
being a lifelong learner.
And being willing to pivot when you need to.
Exactly. So if we zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture here,
Okay.
Koe's ideas are really about reclaiming agency, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
In a world that often feels chaotic and like out of our control.
Especially with everything happening with the economy and AI and all that.
It's like he's saying, hey, you actually have more control over your future than you think.
Exactly. You don't have to be a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
You can actually create your own path.
And he argues that this whole shift that's happening from corporations to individuals, it's only going to accelerate
Oh, yeah, with AI and automation.
as those things continue to disrupt the traditional workforce.
So it's like the old rules no longer apply.
Right. So instead of being afraid of all this change,
Yeah.
Koe sees it as an opportunity.
To create something new.
Yeah, to build something better.
And to really, like, take ownership of your work life.
And he talks about this idea of productizing yourself, which sounds a little strange at first.
Yeah, it's like, what does that even mean?
But it's actually a really powerful concept. It's about taking your unique skills and knowledge, right? And packaging them into something that you can sell.
It's like turning your expertise into a product or service.
Yeah, turning yourself into a brand.
Exactly. And that's something that anyone can do no matter what their background is.
Yeah, like we all have something unique to offer.
Some knowledge or skill that's valuable to others.
Just a matter of figuring out what that is and how to package it.
But I think a lot of people struggle with the idea of like selling themselves,
Oh, yeah, it can feel really uncomfortable.
Like sleazy or inauthentic.
Right, like I'm not a salesperson.
Yeah, exactly. But Koe argues that that discomfort often comes from a misunderstanding of what selling really is.
Okay, so how does he reframe it?
Well, he sees selling as like sharing your value with the world and helping others solve their problems.
Okay, I like that.
It's about making genuine connections and providing solutions that actually make a difference in people's lives.
So it's not about like manipulating people into buying something they don't need.
No, not at all. It's about being authentic and transparent.
Yeah.
And really believing in what you're offering.
And one of the things that I appreciate about Koe is that he doesn't sugarcoat the challenges.
Right. He's very real about it.
He's like, look, building a one-person business is not going to be easy.
It's going to require hard work and dedication.
And there are going to be setbacks.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You're going to make mistakes. You're going to want to quit sometimes.
But he also emphasizes that the rewards are worth it.
Yeah, totally. Like the freedom and the fulfillment and the impact you can create.
Yeah, those are pretty incredible rewards.
And you don't get that working for someone else.
You don't. But let's talk about one of the biggest roadblocks, right? Because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Okay, what's that?
It's that fear of not being good enough.
Oh, yeah, the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, like, who am I to do this? I don't have enough experience.
Yeah, those thoughts can be crippling.
They can. And Koe has some great advice for overcoming that fear.
Okay, what does he say?
Well, first of all, he encourages people to embrace the fact that they're going to be a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone starts somewhere.
Right. You don't have to be an expert right out of the gate.
Yeah. And he says it's okay to not know everything.
It's about being willing to learn as you go.
Exactly. And to give yourself permission to make mistakes.
Because mistakes are how you learn.
And Koe even encourages people to start monetizing their skills early on.
Yeah. Even if it's just a small, affordable offering.
It's about getting that experience of selling and interacting with customers.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how you build confidence and refine your offer.
And that ties back to his whole philosophy of taking action.
No. Yeah. Action is everything.
It is. Like, he believes that the most successful people aren't necessarily the most talented or experienced,
Mm-hmm.
but they're the ones who are willing to take action, even if it's imperfect.
Yeah, they're the ones who are willing to put themselves out there
Mm-hmm.
and experiment and learn from their mistakes.
And it's interesting because Koe doesn't frame this whole thing as a solitary pursuit, right?
No, he's actually a big believer in collaboration.
He is.
And community.
He's all about networking and building relationships with other creators.
Yeah, he sees that as essential for support, learning, and growth.
And he practices what he preaches.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's constantly engaging with his audience
Mm-hmm.
and hosting Q&As.
Yeah. He even offers group coaching programs.
Yeah, he's really built a strong community around his work.
He has.
And I think that's one of the things that makes his approach so effective.
And what I find really compelling about all of this is that it's not just about creating a successful business.
Right.
It's about using those skills and that mindset to build a more meaningful life overall.
Yeah, it's like a holistic approach.
It is.
It's about integrating work and passion and personal growth.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot where your work feels like a natural extension of who you are.
And I think that's something that a lot of people are searching for these days.
Yeah.
Like that sense of purpose and fulfillment in their work.
Absolutely.
And Koe is showing people that it's possible.
One of the most powerful concepts he talks about is the idea of like turning your personal journey into a blueprint for others.
Oh, yeah, I love that idea.
That's so cool.
It's like taking your own struggles and challenges and turning them into something that can help other people.
Yeah, like solve your own problems
Mhm.
and then package those solutions into a product or service.
Exactly. It's about turning your pain into purpose.
And that's a great way to put it.
And it makes so much sense, right?
It does.
Like, who better to guide someone through a specific challenge
Yeah,
than someone who's already been through it themselves?
exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons Koe's work resonates so strongly with people.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just sharing theoretical concepts.
Right.
He's sharing his own experiences.
His own failures, his own wins.
Yeah, he's walking the walk.
And that authenticity shines through.
He does. He's like, look, I've been there. I've struggled. I've made mistakes. But I figured it out, and you can too.
And that's incredibly inspiring, you know?
It is. It gives people hope.
Yeah, and permission to try.
And that's ultimately what makes Koe so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
He's not presenting himself as this, like, flawless success story.
Right.
He's showing people that it's okay to be human, to be messy, to not have all the answers.
Yeah, and to be on a constant journey of learning and growth.
And that's something that I think we can all relate to.
Absolutely.
It's really inspiring stuff.
Mm.
But Koe doesn't just want to leave us with, like, a bunch of theories, right?
No, not at all.
He's all about action. Remember that 60-minute morning routine we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
And that extra hour for focused work. Let's
Yeah.
circle back to that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that first hour is dedicated to, like, mind, body, and money.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about, mindfulness for the mind, exercise, and healthy eating for the body.
Right.
But then there's money.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
And this is where Koe, like, really challenges conventional wisdom.
He does.
Because he's not talking about budgeting or side hustles or any of that stuff.
Right.
He's saying that most people should be using that hour to actively build a business.
Yeah, a real business.
Which might sound kind of crazy at first.
Yeah, especially if you've never considered yourself an entrepreneur.
Right.
But the way Koe explains it, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay, how so?
Well, he sees entrepreneurship as a skill that anyone can learn and develop.
Like playing the guitar or speaking a new language.
Yeah, exactly.
And he argues that these skills are more important now than ever before.
Especially with all the changes happening in the job market.
Right, with AI and automation disrupting so many industries.
Exactly. Like, the traditional career path just isn't as secure as it used to be.
So what Koe is saying is that becoming an entrepreneur, even on a small scale,
Mm-hmm.
is one of the best ways to future-proof yourself.
Yeah, because the skills you learn along the way,
Yeah.
like problem solving, creativity, adaptability, financial literacy, those are valuable in any field.
So even if you don't end up building a billion-dollar company,
Right.
just the fact that you've gone through that process of starting something from scratch,
Yeah,
that makes you so much more valuable as an employee, as a person, as a human being.
absolutely.
Like you've leveled up your skill set.
And what's fascinating is how Koe connects this back to the idea of the creator economy as a new form of education.
Yeah, he's not just saying start a business.
Right.
He's saying become a teacher.
Yeah, a teacher in this
Share your knowledge, your skills, your unique perspective.
contribute to this evolving landscape
And he argues that this is where the real opportunity lies.
in becoming a creator, building an audience.
Offering products or services that help people.
Yeah, solve real problems.
It's less about just making money
Mm-hmm.
and more about making a difference.
Exactly.
Now, I know one of the biggest fears people have about all of this is failure.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It can be paralyzing,
Definitely.
but Koe acknowledges that not every business is going to be a success.
Right.
He says failure is a part of the process.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone.
And he actually encourages people to reframe their relationship with failure.
Okay, how so?
Well, he sees it as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, a chance to course correct.
And he even shares his own experiences with failure, which is so refreshing.
Oh, yeah, he's very open about his own struggles.
He's not pretending to be some perfect success story.
Right, which makes him so much more relatable.
It does. He's like, look, I've been there, I've messed up, but I learned from it, and so can you.
And that's incredibly empowering,
It is.
because it gives people permission to try, to experiment, to take risks.
Without being afraid of failing.
Yeah, because ultimately, as Koe points out,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest failure is not trying at all.
It's letting fear hold you back.
Exactly.
Now, Koe also talks about the importance of working smarter, not just harder.
Oh, yeah, he's all about efficiency.
He encourages people to use technology and automation and systems
Mm-hmm.
to streamline their work and create more freedom.
So they can work less and earn more.
Exactly. He's all about designing a business that supports your ideal lifestyle.
Yeah, not one that dictates it.
So, after this deep dive into Dan Koe's world, I think what we've learned is that it's about more than just building a business.
Yeah, it's a whole philosophy.
It's a way of life.
It's about taking control of your future, embracing your unique talents.
Using those talents to create something valuable.
For yourself and for the world.
And it's about recognizing that you have more to offer than you might think.
We all do.
So the question is, what will you create?
So that was today's episode of my Side Hustle Weekend podcast. For everyone listening, if you're ready to take action on what you learned today, here's where you can find more resources. First, head over to sidehustleweekend.com. I've put together detailed guides, templates, and case studies. And while you are there, don't miss out on my free newsletter, Side Hustle Weekend. If you found value in today's discussion, hit that like button and subscribe to join our Weekend Hustlers community. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our episodes where we break down more side hustle strategies. Check the description below for all the tools and resources we mentioned today. Remember, everyone's journey starts with a single step. Whether you're looking to make an extra $500 a month or build something bigger, start with what you learned today and take action. So, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode where we'll break down another practical way to grow your income.